What's going on, everybody? This is Finally Got Around to. Going to be talking a little bit more about some highly anticipated games of mine in this episode of Matt Talks About Games. Why don't we just hop right into the first game? This is Building Relationships, being developed by Tan Ant Studios. I actually interviewed the developer of this game, which you can find on my website, FinallyGotAroundTo.com. This is a pretty odd game, and it's definitely very aware of that about itself. But basically, it's a game where you play as a house, and you explore this little island, and flirt with other bachelorette houses. Not that I need to gender houses. I don't know. This is the kind of conversations I need to be having about this game. There is a free demo. I believe it's still on Steam. I actually have not double checked that, so hopefully don't get mad at me if it's not still there, but pretty sure it's still there and it's worth checking out. You can finish it in like half an hour, but you get a pretty good sense of the things in this game. You are a little house, you tumble around, like you don't have feet, so you're not walking around, so you just kind of tumble around, and it's very strange and tough to get used to, but you eventually kind of build up abilities to dash, which apparently was inspired by Celeste, the dash ability. But yeah, it's got a lot of very funny. There's the dash. You can see a little bit of the dash here in the trailer. There is a fishing mini game as well, where you go fishing for, guess what, cars, because of course it's not actually fish, it's cars. But it might show the name, yes, common carp. So yeah, flirt with the windmill, flirt with a tent, talk to other houses, lots of other things. I'm looking forward to seeing the absolute ridiculous comedy that this game brings to the table when it finally fully releases, which I'm not really totally sure when that will be, but I'm hoping 2025. We will see. Yeah, there's lots of this game has kind of inspired me to think a lot more about comedy in video games this year. There has been some really interesting releases, like What the Car just came out in September. A couple months before that was Thank Goodness You're Here. I also wrote a review for Just Crow things you can find on my website, other great comedy games. So it's a very interesting subject, and I think a genre of video games that deserves more attention. Yeah, that's Building Relationships. Pretty interesting game. Hopefully it catches your eye a little bit. Yeah, but let's move on to the next one. So this is We Kill Monsters, being developed by Glass Revolver. Tiny little note there. Glass Revolver is one of the only video game developers I've ever heard of that's based in Rhode Island, the state of Rhode Island, which is where I grew up most of my life, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of a strange connection. But anyway, let me get to the point. This game, you are playing as like a kind of a construct, a homunculus, exploring these underground worlds below a dying city. You are searching for monsters, or are they monsters? Hard to tell. But you find these gigantic creatures, and you are basically tasked with killing them and using them as a source to basically keep the city going, where the people are. And I thought that was I was already captivated by just the visuals of this game, but once I heard this kind of backstory, this background element to the game, that really sold me on the concept. I really love this kind of foggy, strange, almost kind of like Dark Souls-y atmosphere that it's got going on, but it's also it has a kind of nice mix of ancient ruins, but also some kind of modern technology stuff kind of thrown in there as well. Very moody, very slow-paced adventure exploration. I don't know, like, the combat might be something that I've never particularly thought of myself as good at, like, action combat games, but I'm hoping that this kind of lives up to the, I don't know, hype that I've kind of built up in my head. I think it will. It looks really promising. The one thing, though, I may have I talked about this in my recent podcast that I just started, if you want to check that out, also on the YouTube channel, also on Spotify. Annapurna Interactive's entire staff basically resigned last month. Kind of unsure where that's going to go, and I'm hoping it doesn't affect I don't hope it doesn't affect this game and many other games that Annapurna has been planning to publish over the next year or two. So that's a little bit concerning, but I'm hoping that this game has no hiccups, no delays, no problems, and continues to become an amazing game. That being said, no real info on a release date for this one. I don't think there's even been like a year announced. Information about this one is pretty few and far between. I'm hoping, maybe late next year, maybe early 2026 could be nice. But I'm gonna just basically be waiting with bated breath if there's ever any more info released about this game, because it is something that's really drawn my attention, and I'm curious to learn a lot more. I don't know, just everything about this just looks really cool, and I just want to walk through this game and explore it and learn more. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Beautiful visuals. Okay, speaking of another Annapurna Interactive game that I'm potentially concerned about for those recent resignations, this is The Lost Wild, which is being developed by a studio called Great Ape Games. It heavily features dinosaurs, which, if you didn't know, I am a big fan of. I did put out a video about this game, talking about this game a little while ago, if you want to check that out too. But what it seems like is kind of a survival horror exploration, maybe, but very cinematic game, where the main character is kind of trapped in this modern, almost like it's kind of like a lab or something that created dinosaurs, and now the player is trapped in this space. Lots of people have obviously been killed by the dinosaurs, and you're maybe the only one left, and you have to figure out a way out of there. You have a flare gun, it looks like, at times, but yeah, basically there doesn't seem to be a way to kind of fight these dinosaurs, shoot and kill dinosaurs or anything like that. Like, it's mostly about using what you have creatively and avoiding being killed rather than like fighting a Tyrannosaurus 1v1. But yeah, I have a lot of hopes and expectations for this game. I'm hoping it is the kind of game where it just throws you into a environment filled with dinosaurs kind of living in their natural habitat, interacting with the world as they would in nature. And based on a few of the quotes that I've read from Great Ape Games' website, it does seem like they have a pretty good understanding and a pretty good idea of, pretty good concept of that, and that they do want to do that, basically. This is my best way to explain it off the cuff right now. What was I going to say? Oh yes, there was a clip earlier where you're lighting a torch and keeping a couple smaller dinosaurs at bay, and I'm hoping that that is a good sign for kind of creativity, crafting, and stuff like that you can use to your advantage. And I'm hoping that this game allows you to be creative and explore this very, very interesting world. But yeah, this one, not totally sure on a release date, but they did say on their website the end of 2024, early 2025. That could be possible, could not be possible. And also with the stuff going on with Annapurna, it's kind of tough to tell where the future will go if that involves more delays. I feel like the chances of it, these Annapurna Interactive published games having delays, are now nearly inevitable. So we'll see. I'll definitely be keeping my eye out for any news about this game. And we'll move on to the next one. So this is a very exciting game. This is called Possessors. It is a collaboration with Heart Machine, the developer Heart Machine, and Devolver Digital. It seems kind of like a 2D side-scrolling. I don't know if I would call it a platformer, but there's definitely some platforming elements. There's some action, combat, definitely some interesting characters and story. I really enjoy, I think maybe what is catching my attention possibly most about this is kind of the aesthetics. I'm really digging the it's kind of like a different thing. Like there's the background that's very gray and muted, but then the characters and like even just the action moments, like when the main character swings their weapon, I don't know if I would call it a sword, but swings their weapon, like that slash and the other, I don't know what you call it, enemies that you run into kind of stand out in very bright, almost neon, but not quite neon. Like very just like stand out from the background very clearly, and I think that is a really cool art style. Yeah, I don't know too much about this one. It was only revealed, I think a little like late summer this year. It was heavily teased. Hopefully you guys aren't hearing that huge sound. I think there's a garbage truck outside. But basically, oh, it's a guitar. That's actually really cool. I hadn't noticed that yet. Yeah, Heart Machine, the creators of Hyper Light Drifter and the upcoming Hyper Light Breaker. Definitely a very interesting developer, and to have them kind of team up with Devolver Digital is really exciting just in concept. No matter what the game is, that's definitely very interesting. I really hope that sound isn't getting crazy. I'm going to pause until the next game, but we will move on to the next one. This is the Gecko Gods, being developed by a developer called In Resin. As you can see, you play as a cute little gecko exploring a very sand-colored palette world. It seems like it's basically like a exploration puzzle. I want to say platformer, but not really a platform. 3D platformer, maybe, I guess. But the thing about this is because you're a gecko, you can climb around any surface at any like angle. You don't need to stay, you're not stuck on a kind of a staying on the ground. Like gravity isn't so much of a question. But yeah, again, another game that I haven't learned too much about, but based on trailers and stuff, this looks something that's right up my alley. I'm a big fan of geckos, other animals, and this looks to be kind of a pretty cute, but potentially really fun, and maybe even like a little goofy, because I think the kind of the physics of it can definitely be a little funny. And I mean, playing as just an actual gecko, like just the way it walks around is kind of almost gets me a little bit. I'm very curious to see the mechanics of this, the puzzles of this, and it does seem like there might be kind of an interesting story around it too. Yeah, this one looks pretty fun, and I'm looking forward to it. No sign of a release date yet, but I'm hoping, next year. I feel like I'm saying that a lot in this video, but yeah, definitely keeping my eye out for this one. On to the next game. So the next game I want to talk about, yet another Annapurna interactive game, but this one is being developed by Messhoff. This game is called Ghost Bike. Now this is a very interesting one. There's only one trailer so far, and this is the trailer. It has an incredible song in it that has been stuck in my head for a long time, and that's probably a big reason why I keep remembering it. But I do really love this kind of cel-shaded art style that it's got. At first glance, it seems like it's just a bike racing game, but I believe from what I've read about it, there is also a lot of exploration. You're kind of touring across the countryside, partaking in all kinds of little bike races, but visiting all kinds of different areas. But then there's also the ghost element of it. And apparently the story is something to do with kind of the ghost bike is a type of messenger. And there's something to do with kind of sending messages to the afterlife, I want to say, something like that. And so I'm very curious to learn more about that and what the story is there and what that means for the character, if they're being it's something about the last of the ghost bikes or something like that. So I'm very curious to know like what the overall story is going to be. Is there going to be like I imagine there's going to be like you start somewhere and you have to get somewhere, and that is kind of going to be the overall journey. But then there might be little side quests and stuff like that. Of course, there will be little races you can participate in. So while there is only this one trailer, there is a little bit more info out there that you can kind of glean what this might entail. Either way, I'm very curious to learn more and get my hands on this game sometime. And yeah, lots of these games definitely catch my eye just aesthetically, and this is definitely one of them, but definitely one that I'm very curious to actually play and see what's going on. Once again, no real sign of release date. It does say coming 2024, but I mean, it's October 2024 as I record this, and there has been no further updates. This trailer, I believe, is, I think, at least like a year old, so there's no telling, plus the whole Annapurna thing. Don't even need to get into that again. Check out my podcast for more thoughts on that situation. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. This is a cool game. Make sure to check out all these games on Steam, by the way. I should have said that earlier in the video, but links to all the Steam pages will be in the description, so you can go check that out, put it on your wish list, keep track of, the Steam will email you if they announce a release date or something, or release a demo. So yeah, go ahead and check that out, and we'll move on to the next game. This is Tenjutsu, which is being developed by Deep Night Games and being published by Devolver Digital. So yet another Devolver game. This one, the trailer starts off with a pretty well animated, just an animation trailer. This is a good indication of what the gameplay is going to be, but it's not what the gameplay is going to look like, and there's the actual gameplay. Very pixelated, top-down, combo, melee, but also you throw stuff around action. But it looks pretty fun. I'm a big fan of pixelated art styles, and this one, it seems to have some kind of roguelike elements, as well as you kind of like picking up power-ups and going through different levels and fighting big groups of enemies. But it looks pretty fun. They did say something at the beginning of the trailer. It was the designer of Dead Cells, yes. So that is also a really great indication. Dead Cells, one of the most popular indie games of maybe all time. So definitely a good indicator of the potential quality here. There was something kind of shown in the gameplay in kind of exploring the different neighborhoods of this city, and you kind of are placing like shops and stuff in an area, and so I'm hoping that could mean that kind of the goal of this game, the overall story of the character, is kind of, see, like right here, adding a shop and 2 food places to the map. And I'm curious what that means. I don't really know, but I can speculate that you are kind of trying to make the city a better place, and you're getting rid of these, gangs of criminals, bad people, and that's kind of a big point of the game, is kind of building up the city to be a better place. I don't know. I think that could be a very interesting through line for this game. Not a ton to go off of. This was also just announced this year, only a couple months ago, really. But I'm very much looking forward to learning more, and maybe we'll get a release date sometime. But yeah, that's kind of the point of this video, is a bunch of games that haven't come out yet, but I hope will come out soon because they look awesome. Now I only have one more game I want to talk about, and we'll move on to that one now. Okay, this is Sword of the Sea, being developed by Giant Squid Studios. It's pretty stunning visually already, as you can see, or at least I think so. And I don't want to spoil the visuals quite yet, but the concept is you are playing as a character, visionary artist behind, Abzu Journey, which I was going to get into, but you have a sword that you kind of ride around this. It's kind of weird to explain. It looks like a desert, but it moves like an ocean. So you are playing as a character riding around on the Sword of the Sea. There's definitely a lot of magic and fantasy elements here. But from what I can tell, and based on its, look at that half pipe, there's definitely going to be some fun skateboarding elements in this game. And as you can see, there's also some ocean/sea, Sword of the Sea elements. So curious what the overall story was going to be here. Is this a ocean that has completely dried out into a desert and you need to kind of restore that or something? That's one theory that I think could be what this is about, but I'm not sure. What is the other thing I was going to say? Yes, it does seem very based, because they mentioned games like Journey and Abzu. It does give me hope that this is going to be a kind of game that's mostly about just exploration, kind of going from place to place, narrative without like actual dialogue. It's just kind of like narrative storytelling, or was it narrative storytelling? That's what it is. Environmental storytelling, and kind of going from place to place, unlocking, I don't know, memories or figuring things out. I'm very curious to learn more, and it looks like it'll be a lot of fun. Who doesn't enjoy, hoverboarding around, skateboarding around? There's a reason that the skateboarding games are really popular. So this one's definitely on my radar, and I have lots of hopes for what this game is going to be in terms of just exploring this fantastical, magical environment. I think it's going to be a very relaxing experience, or at least I hope it will be. Again, no idea of a release date, but wish list all these games in the description. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Which of these games is the most exciting to you? Leave a comment down below. Any other games that you're really looking forward to? I'm definitely interested to hear about it, so I can make more of these videos. Leave a like, subscribe for more indie game recommendations, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye.